You're fast asleep in your warm, cozy bed. It's 3 in the morning. The house is deathly silent. Then, out of nowhere, the silence is shattered by a thundering gallop. Your cat has suddenly bolted, racing through the house like she's being chased by a pack of wolves. She's skidding across rugs, bouncing off the walls, and drifting around corners. Sound familiar? Today, we're diving into exactly why your cat gets these sudden bursts of speed. I promise that by the end of this video, you'll learn the biggest secret behind this bizarre behaviour. And it's going to surprise you. You'll realise that these crazy sprints aren't a sign that your pet has lost their mind. In fact, there's some complex biology at play. We're going to uncover a hidden truth about feline health that many vets don't even mention. But before we get into it, let me know in the comments, what time does your cat usually start their legendary night race? Do you just put up with it out of love, or does it drive you absolutely crazy? Let's talk about it. To solve this fluffy mystery, we need to step back in time, thousands of years in fact. The wild ancestors of our domestic cats were the ultimate survival machines. They were solo hunters, stalking small rodents and birds. Their bodies evolved to store massive amounts of energy for a single, lightning-fast strike. Modern science has a name for these sudden explosions of movement: fraps, or frenetic random activity periods. This is a completely normal physiological process for all felines. Even if your cat eats gourmet food from a crystal bowl, they are still a predator at heart. Their DNA is hardwired with the same programming as a wild forest cat. They are built for short, incredibly intense bursts of energy. If that energy isn't spent during the day, it's going to find a way out at night. Now that we understand the factory settings of the feline body, let's break down the 20 main reasons behind these sudden midnight sprints. Alright, let's dive right in. The main reason for this behaviour lies deep within your pet's instincts. Cats are naturally crepuscular hunters, meaning their activity peaks are biologically hardwired for dawn and dusk. In the wild, this is exactly when small prey is most vulnerable and starts emerging from hiding. Your house cat lives by that same internal clock. As the sun sets, an ancient hunting drive wakes up inside them. This isn't just a sudden urge to play. It's a powerful surge of hormones demanding immediate action. Think about a typical evening. You're relaxing on the couch watching TV, when suddenly your cat freezes. Their pupils dilate, they stare into the distance, and then, boom, they're sprinting down the hallway. They are stalking invisible prey and sharpening their skills. Many owners fall for a common myth, that cats should sleep through the night just like we do. But that's a complete misconception. Feline sleep is divided into short cycles. So when their biological morning arrives, which might be 4 o'clock in the morning to you, all that stored up energy needs an outlet. They go on an imaginary hunt right across your furniture. It's a perfectly normal, healthy response from a healthy animal, simply reacting to the time of day. But what's really driving this instinct? A major factor is the build-up of pent-up energy. Most modern domestic cats live strictly indoors. They don't roam outside, climb trees, or hunt for their food. Their lives are incredibly comfortable, but they're also physically stagnant. Even though food is always in the bowl and the water is always fresh, a cat's body is still hardwired to produce the energy needed to survive in the wild. That energy just keeps building, day after day. Think of it like a balloon that's constantly being inflated. Eventually, it has to pop. Those frantic sprints through the house are exactly that, a safe explosion of energy. You've likely seen this after a long day. You get home from work exhausted, and suddenly your cat is bouncing off the walls. That's a clear sign that the laser pointer or feather wand stayed idle all day. There's a common myth that adult indoor cats don't need active play, that they should just lounge on a pillow all day. But if you don't spend at least 20 minutes a day playing with them, they'll find their own way to burn those calories. And usually that means a wild 3 a.m. sprint right across your face. Now let's move on to one of the funniest and most delicate reasons. The third part of our investigation takes us straight to the litter box. Vets actually have a name for this: toilet euphoria. You've probably seen it before. Your cat bolts out of the litter box like a rocket after doing their business, racing through the apartment as if they've just won a gold medal. There's a perfectly scientific explanation for this. The process of emptying their bowels stimulates the vagus nerve. This nerve runs throughout the body and is a key part of the parasympathetic nervous system. When it's stimulated, it triggers a brief sense of intense relief, a literal high. Your cat is quite literally on cloud 9. Every cat owner knows the drill. First, you hear some serious focused digging, then a moment of dead silence, and a second later, they launch out of the room at near light speed with their tail puffed up. There's a popular myth that cats are simply trying to outrun the smell of their own mess, but that's total nonsense. Cats aren't bothered by their own scent at all. Those post-poop zoomies are pure physiology, a celebration of great digestion. So, the next time you see that frantic sprint, be happy. It means your furry friend's digestive system is working perfectly and they're feeling absolutely fantastic. The fourth reason is a major red flag that should make you pay much closer attention to your pet. Sudden bursts of running can actually be a sign of physical discomfort, often caused by fleas, ticks, or even allergies. Think about it. If you were suddenly bitten in a spot on your back you couldn't reach, your first instinct would be to jump or pull away. Cats react the exact same way. That sharp itch from a parasite or an allergic reaction can make a cat bolt out of nowhere. They are literally trying to outrun the sensation. You might notice a very specific pattern. Your cat is sitting calmly, grooming themselves, when suddenly the skin on their back starts to twitch or ripple. They whip around toward their tail, maybe even hiss, and then go racing into the next room, where they immediately collapse and start scratching or licking frantically. There's a persistent myth among owners that if a cat never goes outside and the house is spotless, they can't possibly have fleas. Unfortunately, that's just not true. You can easily track flea eggs into your home, on your own shoes or clothing. So, if those sudden sprints are paired with nervous skin twitching and frequent scratching, it's time to see a vet. Sometimes it only takes one single flea to drive a cat absolutely crazy. Let's look at this through the lens of cat psychology. Reason number 5, a desperate need for attention. Cats are incredibly smart creatures, and they are masters at figuring out how to train their humans. If a cat feels lonely or bored, they'll find a way to make you look at them, and they know perfectly well that sitting quietly in a corner isn't going to cut it. But if they scream and sprint across your laptop keyboard, well, that gets an instant reaction. To a cat, any reaction is a win. Even if you're shouting or shooing them away, they've achieved their goal. They finally have your attention. Anyone who works from home knows exactly how this looks. You've been staring at your screen for hours. Your cat comes over for a rub, but you're too busy to notice. So they walk a few feet away, casually knock a pen off your desk, and bolt across the room like a maniac. You jump up to grab the pen, and bingo! The cat wins. It's important to debunk one common myth here. Cats aren't doing this to be mean or spiteful. They don't have a secret plan for revenge. In reality, cats don't even understand the concept of spite. They're simply using a tool that works. If running around the house makes you put down your phone, they're going to run. The best way to stop the chaos is to give your pet some quality one-on-one time before the mischief starts. Our 6th point takes us back to the world of pure biology. You might remember the term FRAPs, short for frenetic random activity periods. Let's dive into the mechanics of why this happens. This isn't just a quirky habit, it's a literal reboot for the animal's nervous system. Cats have incredibly active minds, constantly processing a massive influx of sensory data, smells, sounds, and visual cues. When this information becomes overwhelming, they need to blow off some steam. These sudden sprints work like a reset button on a frozen computer. In a split second, a cat can switch from absolute stillness to peak intensity. A classic example often happens in the evening. Your cat might be sitting quietly, staring at a wall. Then their tail starts thumping, their ears pin back, their eyes go wide. and suddenly, they're off. They bolt across the room for no apparent reason, tear through the house, and then calmly go back to sleep. There's an old myth that often scares new owners, the idea that this behaviour means a cat has mental health issues or even rabies. That is absolutely not true. Veterinarians confirm that fraps are actually a sign of a young, healthy animal with great muscle tone. So if your cat starts racing around the house, rest assured that their nervous system is in perfect shape. They're simply hitting the refresh button the only way they know how. Reason number 7 is all about the drive to hone their skills. For a cat, play is serious practice. Your apartment isn't just a place to nap. It's a hunting ground, a training facility, and an obstacle course all in one. In the wild, a predator's survival depends on keeping their instincts sharp. They must be masters of stealth, explosive speed, and quick escapes. In a home environment, cats simulate these high-stakes scenarios, playing the roles of both hunter and prey. Here's a perfect example of this training in action. Watch how she crouches behind the door, pinned to the floor, waiting for the perfect moment. Suddenly, she lunges at an invisible foe in the middle of the rug, tumbling and darting back into the shadows. It's a performance staged for an audience of one. Many people like to give this behaviour a mystical twist. There's a popular myth that cats are actually chasing ghosts or spirits around the house. It sounds a bit spooky, doesn't it? No, the reality is much more grounded. Your cat is simply tapping into her vivid imagination. When she gets bored, she creates her own entertainment, practicing her attack angles and evasive maneuvers. So, rest easy. There are no ghosts in your hallway. There's only a bored little ninja in fuzzy pajamas. But what if these sudden sprints aren't fueled by joy, but by anxiety? Reason number 8, releasing stress and pent-up tension. We often forget that cats are creatures of habit, highly sensitive to even the smallest changes in their environment. Something as simple as a new piece of furniture, a loud noise outside, or a house full of strangers can be incredibly overwhelming. These situations trigger a surge of cortisol, the stress hormone. The most natural way for a cat to flush that hormone out of their system is through intense physical activity. Running helps them burn off excess adrenaline and regain their emotional balance. Let's look at a classic example. You have a few friends over, and your cat spends the entire evening hiding under the sofa. Once the guests finally leave, and the house is quiet again, she crawls out. But instead of heading for her food bowl, she starts tearing through the rooms like crazy. She's literally running off the fear she's been holding in. Some people believe the myth that cats don't experience stress because they don't have real-world problems. But feline stress is very real and can even lead to serious health issues. These post-stress zoomies are actually a healthy defense mechanism. They help prevent physical illness caused by nervous tension. So if your cat starts bolting around after a scary situation, don't scold them. Just let them run it out until they feel calm and safe again. Reason number 9 comes down to your pet's extraordinary senses. A cat's hearing and vision are nothing short of incredible. They can pick up ultrasonic frequencies and spot the slightest movement in near darkness. What looks like total silence or a blank wall to us might be as captivating as a movie screen to a cat. That sudden burst of speed is often just a reaction to triggers we're completely oblivious to. A bug behind the cabinet, water rushing through the pipes, a mouse rustling in the walls, or even the faint sweep of headlights from a passing car. It all kicks their predatory instincts into high gear instantly. A perfect example happens often on summer evenings. Your cat is peacefully napping on the windowsill when they suddenly leap up and start darting around the room with their head tilted back. They're trying to catch a tiny gnat or mosquito that you can't even see. These razor-sharp abilities are exactly why the myth of a sixth sense exists. People often think cats can see into the future or detect bad energy, but there's no magic involved. It's simply the refined anatomy of a master predator. Their ears function like sophisticated radar dishes, so if your cat suddenly starts digging at a corner or the baseboards, you might want to check for pests. Your pet likely heard them long before they became a real problem. Reason number 10 is one that always brings a smile to any cat owner's face. The post-bath zoomies. Cats are incredibly clean creatures, often spending hours meticulously grooming their fur. But this isn't just about looking good. As a cat licks itself, its rough, sandpaper-like tongue massages the skin, boosting circulation and stimulating nerve endings all over its body. After a long, deep clean, they feel a massive surge of energy. And if you were the one who gave them an actual bath, well, that sprint is going to be even more legendary. They bolt around to air dry their fur, warm up, and shake off the stress of dealing with that dreaded water. We've all seen it happen. A cat is sitting there in some ridiculous pose, licking at its back leg, when suddenly they stop, give a full body shake, and just take off. It's like they've just been plugged into a high-speed charger. Some people believe the myth that cats hate being clean and run around just to find some dust under the bed to roll in. It's a funny idea, but it's completely wrong. A cat simply wants to reclaim its natural scent, especially after being washed with shampoo. As for the sprints after a normal grooming session, that's pure muscle joy. Their body is clean, their blood is pumping, and it's the perfect time to stretch those legs and take a few flying leaps onto the furniture. Reason number 11 is all about the feeding schedule. For a house cat, food is the ultimate source of joy and energy. These sudden bursts of speed, or zoomies, often happen right before or immediately after a meal. If your cat starts racing around before eating, it's pure anticipation. They're trying to hurry you up, mimicking the excitement of a real hunt. But if those sprints happen after a big lunch, it's usually due to a spike in blood sugar. The body receives a massive dose of calories, and that energy needs an immediate outlet. You probably see a perfect example of this every morning. You head to the kitchen with a pouch of food, and your cat starts doing figure eights around your ankles, bolting down the hallway and back again. It's a literal happy dance. There's a common myth that a full cat should immediately get sleepy and find a warm spot to nap. In reality, that's usually only true for older cats or after a heavy carb-loaded meal. A healthy young cat, fueled by high-quality protein, feels a massive surge of energy. Their inner predator is satisfied with a successful hunt at the food bowl, and they're celebrating that victory with a lap around the house. Try not to get in their way during these moments. At the same time, avoid intense play right after they eat to prevent any digestive issues. Just let them run it off at their own pace. Factor number 12 is your pet's age. Aging completely changes a cat's behaviour. If you have a kitten or a cat under 3, those late-night zoomies are practically a constant. Kittens have an almost infinite amount of energy. They need to explore, build their coordination, and strengthen their muscles. For them, literally climbing the walls is just a normal part of growing up. As cats age, they become more mellow and deliberate. Their sprints get shorter and less frequent. Take the classic example of a tiny kitten. It's 2 in the morning, and they find a plastic bottle cap on the floor. They'll pounce, roll around, and tear from one corner of the room to the other for an hour straight. An adult cat would just look at that same cap and go right back to sleep. This brings us to a common and quite sad myth. Many owners of senior cats worry that if their cat stops running around, it's a sign they don't have much time left. That isn't true at all. A decline in activity after age 8 is a perfectly natural part of aging. Their joints might be a little stiff, so they're simply being careful with their energy. That said, if your 10-year-old cat occasionally has a short, playful dash after a crumpled piece of paper, that's a wonderful sign. It means they're in great shape, they feel safe, and they're genuinely happy. Reason 13 is all about defending their domain. Cats are incredibly territorial creatures. To them, your apartment isn't just a home, it's their private kingdom. Instinct compels them to regularly patrol their borders, scanning for any sign of an intruder. Sometimes this patrol takes the form of a high-speed sweep. Your cat might suddenly decide it's time to check every strategic point in the house as fast as possible. They need to refresh their scent on the furniture and make sure no rival has slipped into the hallway. You've likely seen this in action, especially in the evening. Your cat bolts from the bedroom, leaps onto the kitchen windowsill, stares out for exactly 2 seconds, and then races to the front door to sniff the threshold before charging back to their starting point. Mission accomplished. The territory is secure. There's a common myth that indoor cats lose their territorial instincts and become lazy. That couldn't be further from the truth. Indoor cats are just as protective of their litter box, their bed, and even their favourite human. Those frantic laps around the house are actually essential security checks. It's how they prove to themselves that they are in total control of their environment. So, be sure to praise your little guardian for their dedicated service. Reason 14 is a critical one because it's directly linked to your cat's health. Sometimes a sudden burst of energy isn't a sign of happiness, but a symptom of an underlying medical condition. In cats over 7 years old, a frequent culprit is hyperthyroidism. This is a thyroid disorder where the body produces an excess of hormones, essentially forcing the metabolism to run at a dangerous speed. You'll notice your cat becoming unnaturally restless, unable to find a quiet spot to rest. They might develop a massive appetite, yet continue to lose weight rapidly. If your aging cat suddenly starts racing through the house at night like a kitten, meowing loudly for no reason, or demanding food constantly, don't look the other way, especially if their coat starts looking thin or scruffy. It's a common mistake to think your senior pet has found their second youth, or a new lease on life. While it's tempting to be happy about their newfound playfulness, sudden behavioural changes in older animals are rarely a good sign. This hormonal overload puts an immense strain on the heart and internal organs. So, if your mellow senior cat suddenly turns into a hyperactive sprinter, don't just write it off. Schedule a vet visit and get a blood test. The right treatment is the only way to bring back their peace of mind and protect their health. Reason number 15 involves sleep and wakefulness cycles. Cats spend up to 16 hours a day sleeping, but their sleep structure is actually quite complex, alternating between deep sleep and light dozing. When a cat emerges from a deep sleep phase, their body temperature drops slightly and their muscles are completely relaxed. To get back into battle-ready mode, the body needs a serious jump start. That sudden dash after waking up serves exactly that purpose. It gets the blood pumping, warms up the muscles, and instantly switches the brain to 100%. Think of this classic scenario. Your cat is curled up in a tight ball on a chair, fast asleep. Suddenly their eyes snap open. They stand up slowly, give a long, satisfying yawn, and stretch out their front paws, then their back ones. Then, in a split second, they bolt off the chair and tear toward the kitchen. The transition from deep sleep to top speed happens in the blink of an eye. There is a funny myth about this. Many people believe that cats wake up grumpy and irritable, just like humans on a Monday morning, and that they run around because they're annoyed about being awake. But a cat's biology is wired differently. Unless they've been startled, waking up actually triggers a release of endorphins. They wake up feeling energized and joyful. This morning sprint is just their way of telling the world, I'm awake and I'm ready for anything. Number 16 on our list involves environmental changes that we usually don't even notice. Weather patterns. Cats are incredibly sensitive to shifts in barometric pressure and static electricity. Before a major storm, a hurricane, or a sudden cold snap, the air pressure drops, and a cat can physically feel this change through their whiskers and inner ear. On top of that, static electricity builds up in the air right before a thunderstorm. This makes a cat's fur prickle, which can be itchy and irritating. Not understanding what's happening, the cat might start racing through the house, trying to outrun the discomfort. If you live somewhere with unpredictable weather, you've probably seen this firsthand. It's a beautiful sunny day, but suddenly your cat is on edge. They're darting from room to room, hiding under the sofa, then bolting down the hallway for no apparent reason. Then, a few hours later, the heavens open up. For centuries, people have created myths around this behaviour. The most famous one is that cats have a psychic gift for predicting the future. They were even used as living barometers on ships, But there's no magic here, just fine-tuned biology and physics. So, if your cat gets the pre-storm zoomies, don't scold them. Instead, close the windows and check to see if their fur is standing on end. Reason number 17 is often hidden right in your home's layout: a total lack of vertical space. Cats are three-dimensional creatures. They don't just want to walk across the floor. They need to climb. They only feel truly safe when they can survey their territory from above. If your home doesn't have tall scratching posts, wall shelves, or accessible cabinet tops, your cat has nowhere to channel its energy. When they can't go up, they compensate by tearing across the floor. Picture a cat in an empty room with a hardwood floor. Out of sheer boredom, it builds up speed and slides across the parquet just to feel some kind of stimulation. If that cat had a floor-to-ceiling climbing complex, it would be spending that energy jumping and exploring the heights instead. Many new owners fall for the myth that a floor and a soft couch are plenty, and they often try to keep their pets off the furniture. But a cat confined to ground level is a stressed cat. Their instincts are screaming for height, and those frantic horizontal sprints are actually a cry for help. Try clearing off a windowsill or installing a couple of sturdy wall shelves. You'll be surprised at how quickly those midnight zoomies disappear. Your cat will start burning energy through climbing, which is a much more natural and effective workout for them. Reason number 18 is all about the nose. A cat's sense of smell is far more sensitive than ours, and certain scents can trigger a full-blown case of the zoomies. While catnip, silvervine, and valerian root are the usual suspects, your cat might also react to bleach, olives, new leather boots, or even your perfume. These aromas can cause a hormonal shift, almost like a mild intoxication. You can see this in action while cleaning. If you mop the floor with a product containing a bit of chlorine, your cat might sniff the damp surface, roll onto their back, and then suddenly bolt across the room with wild eyes. People often think only catnip has this power, but practically anything can be a trigger. Some cats lose it over the smell of fresh cucumber or watermelon. It sends a unique signal to their brain, sparking a sudden burst of energy. So, if your cat starts racing around after you bring home the groceries, they've likely found an interesting new scent. It's completely harmless, as long as they're just sniffing and not trying to taste the cleaning supplies. Reason number 19 is especially relevant for multi-pet households: the social game of tag. When cats live together, they develop complex social structures and unique ways of interacting. One of their primary forms of communication is playing predator and prey, where they constantly switch roles. One cat pounces, the other bolts, and then they swap. This doesn't just keep them fit, it strengthens their bond. Picture this classic scene. One cat is peacefully napping on a chair. The other sneaks up from behind, gives his tail a playful swat, and immediately takes off. The first cat jumps up and with a happy meow joins the chase. They thunder through the apartment for a few laps before finally collapsing side by side to rest. There's an old myth that cats are strictly solitary, independent loners who don't need company. That's a huge misconception. Cats are actually very social and naturally form tight-knit groups. For them, playing together is the ultimate stress reliever. So, if your cats decide to hold a midnight obstacle course race, don't be too hard on them. It's a sign that they've truly bonded and are entertaining one another. It might be a bit noisy, but it means your pets are genuinely happy and will never have to struggle with loneliness or boredom. And finally, reason number 20 comes down to us: how we handle the situation and how we react. So how do you manage these late-night sprints so everyone can finally get some rest? The secret lies in a solid routine. Cats thrive on consistency. They'll quickly adapt to your schedule as long as you stay disciplined. If your cat is racing around at night, it's a sign that their internal clock is out of sync, and you have the power to fix it. Here's the classic way to reset their rhythm. About 30 minutes before you plan to go to sleep, grab a wand toy. Play with your cat until they're actually a bit winded. Once they're tired out, give them a small portion of their favourite food. Biology will take over from there. In the wild, after the hunt and the meal, comes a deep, long sleep. There's a common but harmful myth that you should punish a cat for nighttime noise or zoomies by spraying them with water, locking them away, or shouting. That is the worst thing you can do. Punishment only spikes a cat's stress levels, and the next night, they'll be running even faster. Only this time, out of fear. A little love, an understanding of their nature, and 20 minutes of active play in the evening will solve the nighttime zoomies once and for all. Your pet will be happily curled up next to you until morning. Respect the instincts of your little predator, and you'll find yourself with the perfect companion. And now we've reached the most important and surprising part of our investigation. Do you want to know what almost all these 20 reasons have in common? Here's the real kicker. When your cat suddenly starts bolting across the room, it's actually the clearest sign that they feel completely safe. Yes, you heard that right. In the wild, an animal living in constant fear, pain, or weakness would never waste precious energy on pointless sprints. They would be hiding and conserving their strength. So, if your cat gets the midnight zoomies, knocking over rugs and pawing off the furniture, take it as a huge compliment. It means they are well fed, healthy, and feel totally secure. They trust you and their home 100%. You've created the perfect environment for them. To wrap things up, just remember, those high-speed chases are a complex mix of hunting instincts, a need for exercise, stress relief, and pure, unadulterated joy. Don't get frustrated by the noise. Try to look at it with a bit of understanding and a sense of humour. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps us create more content. And finally, I have a question for you. What's the funniest or most ridiculous thing that's happened during one of your cat's sprints? What did they knock over? Or who did they accidentally scare? I can't wait to read your stories in the comments.